Okay, I'm a resume fanatic. And so what I've learned to do, the resume is your visual document. So visually, it has to be attractive. So I want to see a nice font style. Calibri right now is popular because it pulls up better on iPads and stuff like that. I learned.
Interesting.
Calibri is the font, and because Times New Roman has all the little,
Feet.
ornate.
Yeah, right.
So what we're finding is the new devices that people are looking at your resume, they want a cleaner font, and size 12. So these are things you need to know in your resume. But the key thing is I'm going to be looking for white space around your words. The resume has to be grammatically correct, spell check, of course, and then I want you to describe your different employers. There might be 150 St. Mary's hospitals in the country. Tell me about, your 800-bed St. Mary's hospital. That will set you apart. So what sets apart 5 resumes out of 50 is going to be someone who has a nice professional summary at the top of their resume. They have the key words that automatically will pop up and make me interested. They're going to describe their employer, and they're going to only talk about their key accomplishments, not all the different things that they had to do in a long paragraph. Bullet points, make it easy for the reader to want to read your resume, and those are the ones that pop up and bubble up to the top. So I hope that helps.
So Bonnie, what would result in instant disqualification for you?
Well, someone who sends me, many physicians have CVs, and they're lovely, but they're, 16 pages, and it's all academia, and I don't know where the professional experience is at. So I'm going to have to toss those aside to read later or throw out. Or I'll coach that person on how to do a reverse chronological format that I can read, and then hiring a manager would read also. So the key thing is have someone read it, because you're not going to get a call or asked to come into an interview if your marketing document is terrible. So really, really work on that. Whether it comes up visually on the screen or if it's a hard copy, make sure it looks good. And have many people read it. Get advice from friends and family and others in your network.
Rachel?
I have a couple things that I'd see as a negative and a couple of positive ideas. So mixed periods, when you have bullet points and you have some periods at the end of some and you don't have the other, that's just one of those things that jumps out. In terms of actual content and not aesthetics, I would see a flag if someone jumped around a lot from job to job or wasn't able to have an explainable reason for it. So I look for somebody who had some sort of dedication and maybe even progressed in a certain position from one to another over time. So those are positive signs of a longer-term person who's really looking to grow with my company and not just find something that's going to pay them a little bit more right now and then go leave and find something else. Because so many of these jobs, there's a lot of education to invest in. So particularly someone who's looking to certify someone and spend money on weeks and weeks of training, they want someone who's going to stick around. In terms of positive things, more aesthetics, action words are good. So things you actually accomplish, starting your sentences with, or your bullets with action words. I like, in terms of format, having a profile at the top, something in a one paragraph, maybe even 1 or 2 sentences that describes you as a person before you get into what specific things you did in a job, because I care less about whether you balanced the cash register doing this or you did a specific task. I care more about what's your overall profile. And I also like highlighting key accomplishments somewhere more than the necessarily day-to-day tasks. So in my own format, I will say I was responsible for X, Y, and Z. That describes the day-to-day, and then I focus more on what did I accomplish in that role outside of the average expectations of what that role was. And I look for someone who's memorable, and that's really difficult to put a finger on, but and that's goes from a kind of a business marketing and a personal marketing perspective. You want someone to remember who you are, and it might be that you're not the exact fit for the exact position that someone is looking for, but you want them to say, remember 3 months ago I got that kind of quirky letter, or geez, they seemed really great, and something about them was different. So you have to define what that is for you.
I'll echo what Rachel was saying about kind of a summation of your resume. I really like to see a really concise professional summary. And, you know, from a personal side, and I wrote a blog for Gwen, jargon, you know, kind of gets to me. If your executive summary says, I'm a results-oriented innovator with, you know, working in this space, and I go, you know, you could write a whole paragraph and not say anything. And so I'm just becoming a lot more in tune with, you know, folks that cut down on the jargon. I love to see bullet points about accomplishments. And then one thing that, you know, I really am in tune with is if you have gaps in your CV or your resume, you're going to get asked why you have a gap. If there's 2 years, or you know, you don't want to put something on the resume, you need to know really what your response is going to be. But we'll ask about it for sure. And then I would say, you know, lastly, a lot of folks will send in their resume, and some of the savvy ones will follow up with a phone call to introduce themselves. And it's just, you know, another touch point and a great way to be memorable, to Rachel's point. Yeah.
Mike?
Well, I purposely chose a business model where I don't have to worry about that. my business model is based on 2 key foundations. I don't want to be an employee, and I don't want to be an employer. So if I get a stack of 50 resumes on my desk, there's been 50 misguided people who didn't really check out to see if this company is the type of company that's doing any hiring at all.
Okay, fair enough. How about you, Dave?
First off, what I like to see are what's going to catch my attention are the keywords that are associated to whatever the position is. Just something that immediately lets me know that you've done or worked closely with whatever the ad happens to be, whatever the job happens to be. But what really stands out for me beyond that are people who state their accomplishments, and I say that in the way of understanding why they're doing things. So you're not just implementing a system, you're implementing it to improve patient safety, lower costs, increase productivity, and the fourth one would be in the sales world, increase sales. Generally speaking, the reason why you're doing what you're doing, unless there's something unique that's going to pop up, 95% of the time it's eventually for one of those 4 reasons. So an understanding of that, why you're doing that, and if you try to quantify that in your resume if you can. Sometimes it's difficult in the IT or informatics space because it's not you alone, but quantify how you were a part of a team that accomplished one of the 4. That really stands out for me. That's a layer of, as opposed to just doing the work, understanding why you're doing the work, what your role is within that organization.